April 1969. 14-year-old April Fabb set out on her bicycle, a short ride to deliver a birthday present to her sister's house in the next village. The route was familiar, the journey barely 2 miles, but somewhere along that lonely country lane, April vanished. Her bicycle was later discovered abandoned in a field, undamaged, but she had disappeared into thin air. No witnesses, no struggle, no trace. More than 5 decades later, the disappearance of April Fabb remains one of Britain's most haunting unsolved mysteries. What happened on that spring day? Who took April, and why? Welcome to Crimes That Haunt Us. We release a new case every Sunday at 6 p.m, so hit subscribe and don't miss the next one. And let me know your thoughts on this case in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. On the 22nd of April 1955, in the quiet hamlet of Bacton, Norfolk, a place where time seems to stand still amidst rolling fields and winding lanes, April Fabb is born, the youngest of 3 daughters, to Ernest, a stoic farm worker, and Olive, a diligent domestic cleaner. At number 3 Council Houses, a modest home nestled in this rural enclave near Cromer, April grows up shy but warm-hearted, her blue eyes and fair hair framing a pretty oval face. She's an animal lover, doting on the family's terrier, Trudy, and finds joy in stamp collecting, needlework, and crafting her own clothes. Her bedroom walls burst with posters of Aim and Corner, her favorite band, their hit, If Paradise is Half as Nice, a constant hum in her life. At Cromer Modern School, she's known as a good girl from a good family, a sensible, happy teenager who babysits for locals, attends church faithfully, and cycles the country lanes to visit friends and family, embodying the innocence of rural England in the 1960s. In early 1969, as spring blooms in Norfolk, April's sister Pamela moves out to start her own life with her husband and young son in a council house on Cromer Road, Roughton, just 2 miles from Bacton. April, now 13, often pedals her blue and white bicycle along these quiet, hedge-lined lanes to visit Pamela, a routine as familiar as the Norfolk breeze. Bacton, barely a village, is a cluster of homes surrounded by fields, not far from Cromer, a sleepy fishing town on the North Norfolk coast. In this idyllic corner of England, where narrow roads weave through villages, no one suspects danger. No incidents mar April's carefree rides, and her family has no reason to fear for her safety in this close-knit community. On Tuesday, April 8, 1969, during the Easter holidays, the day after Bank Holiday Monday, a balmy spring day dawns in Bacton, the air warm with the promise of Easter sunshine. At 9:20 a.m., Olive Fabb leaves for her cleaning job at the village rectory across from 3 council houses, leaving April asleep. By 10 a.m., April is up, washing dishes and planning her week. Olive pops back at around 10:10 a.m. to grab cleaning supplies, finding April dressed in a green jumper and brown trousers, her day unfolding with teenage normalcy. Later that morning, Olive, delayed by extra cleaning, returns home just as April comes back from walking Trudy. A family friend visit, cancelling a shopping trip but gifting April 10 Players' Weight cigarettes as a birthday present for her brother-in-law, Ray. Olive suggests April call her friend Gillian to plan a Saturday shopping trip in Norwich. With no home phone, April cycles to a nearby telephone box, returning 10 minutes later, beaming after confirming plans with Gillian. She changes into a wine-colored woolen skirt, green jumper, long white socks, and brown sandals with red straps and brass buckles, tying her light brown hair with a brown crinkly ribbon and adding a touch of lipstick, a shy but blossoming 13-year-old ready for her day. At around 1:35 p.m., April calls out cheerio to Olive, grabs her blue and white bicycle from the garage, and sets off for Pamela and Ray's house in Roughton, 2 miles away. Her saddlebag holds the 10 cigarettes, a 5.5 old pence, and a handkerchief, her mission to deliver Ray's birthday gift. Olive watches her daughter pedal away, unaware it's the last time she'll see her alive. April's route winds through rural lanes, a path she knows very well. Between 1:40 and 1:50 p.m., just 100 to 180 meters into her journey, April stops at Donkey Field near Harrison's farm on Cromer Road, chatting for about 10 minutes with two 12-year-old friends, Maureen and Christine. She pets a donkey named Judy and mentions her errand to Pamela's house. She rides on, her blue and white bicycle a fleeting splash of color against the green fields. At 6 minutes past 2 p.m., the last confirmed sighting of April Fabb occurs on Roughton Road, about 180 meters from Donkey Field. Farm worker Joseph Livingston Brown, driving a tractor, spots the 5'4", blue-eyed, light brown-haired girl cycling towards Roughton. Farmer Harrison, in his Land Rover, also sees her around the same time, noting she's on the wrong side of the road, a minor detail in the sparse rural traffic, unremarkable in the moment. A few unnamed locals glimpse her around this time, her green jumper and wine-colored skirt vivid against the spring landscape. This is the final moment April is seen alive. Just 9 minutes later at 2:15 p.m., 3 unnamed Ordnance Survey workers in a van catch a fleeting glimpse of a chilling scene. April Fabb's blue and white bicycle lies abandoned in a field off Back Lane, roughly 130 meters from where she was last seen cycling towards Roughton at 2:06 p.m. Hurled over a 6-foot embankment, the bike rests in the grass, the ordnance workers dismissing it as unimportant in the warm spring afternoon. Nearby, an elderly couple parked in a lay-by across the road later tell police they saw or heard nothing suspicious. No screech of tires, no cries, no signs of struggle, though their account carries a shadow of doubt as they admit they might have been dozing in the sun's gentle warmth. This oversight carves a critical 7 to 9 minute window, a fleeting gap in time where 13-year-old April vanishes without a trace, leaving behind only her bicycle and a community soon to be gripped by fear. 3 p.m. as the spring sun bathes Metton's quiet lanes, passing motorist David Empson, driving a brown Vauxhall Viva with his mother, spots an unsettling sight on Back Lane. April Fabb's blue and white bicycle abandoned in a field near Pillar Box Corner. Compelled to investigate, Empson turns into the lane, climbs over a steep embankment, and retrieves the bike after a brief discussion with his mother. Nestled in its white saddlebag, they find a paper bag containing a handkerchief, 10 players' weight cigarettes, and 5 pence halfpenny, mundane items untouched by whoever left the bike. Empson delivers the bicycle to PC Chiddick at the police house in Roughton, who stores it in his garage, initially suspecting it might be stolen. Chiddick telephones the details to Cromer's main station, unaware that this discovery marks the beginning of a haunting mystery, as 13-year-old April remains missing, her whereabouts swallowed by the stillness of Norfolk's countryside. By early evening, as dusk creeps over Metton, Olive Fabb, April's mother, pedals anxiously to her daughter Pamela's house in Roughton, her heart heavy with unease. Expecting to find 13-year-old April, who set out hours earlier to deliver a birthday gift, Olive is met with a chilling realization. April never arrived. Returning home, she crosses paths with her husband, Ernest, who has been frantically calling friends and the local hospital from a payphone, confirming no trace of their shy, dark-fearing daughter. The absence of April's bicycle lights heightens their dread as night falls over Norfolk's quiet lanes, casting an ominous shadow. The Fabb's growing panic signals the start of a desperate search, unaware that the bicycle, now in police custody, holds the last tangible clue to April's fate, deepening the mystery enveloping their close-knit community. By 8:45 p.m., after confirming with Pamela that April never reached Roughton and with Ernest's hospital inquiries yielding nothing, the Fabb's fear becomes unbearable. The quiet Norfolk evening feels heavy with dread. At 10 p.m., under the weight of a starless Norfolk night, Ernest and Olive Fabb, consumed by fear for their missing 13-year-old daughter, report her disappearance to Norfolk Constabulary via telephone. PC Chiddock, stationed in Roughton, recognizes the description of April's blue and white bicycle stored in his garage since David Empson delivered it hours earlier. Springing into action, Chiddock launches the initial investigation, informing his section sergeant, Sergeant Francis, of the bicycle's discovery and the Fabb's distress. Francis relays the urgent details to Divisional Headquarters in North Walsham and Force Headquarters in Norwich, setting the wheels of a broader response in motion. Detectives and uniformed officers swiftly converge on 3 council houses, interviewing the distraught Fabb family. Then they descend on Back Lane, where April's bicycle was found. By torchlight, they comb the road and hedgerows, searching for any sign of the shy teenager. But as night deepens, they pause, resolving to resume at dawn, leaving Metten cloaked in an eerie, unanswered silence. At around 11 p.m., 2 female residents, strangers to each other, are haunted by a chilling sound piercing the night. A shriek, sharp and unmistakable, echoing through the stillness. Once news of April Fabb's abduction spreads, both women come forward independently to report what they had heard to Norfolk police. These rural folk, attuned to the country's nocturnal chorus, the cries of foxes, the hoots of owls, and the rustle of wind through hedgerows, are adamant. This was no animal call, no natural quirk of the night. It was a human sound, raw and urgent, unlike any they'd known in their years living amid Norfolk's fields. Disturbingly, neither woman recalls hearing a vehicle, no engine roar, no tires crunching on gravel associated with the scream, deepening the mystery of what transpired in those late hours. Their separate, unconnected accounts lend a haunting credibility, yet with no witnesses or physical evidence to tie the Shreik to April's disappearance 9 hours earlier, the reports hang like a spectral thread in the case. In the early hours of April 9, 1969, as dawn breaks over Metten's silent fields, Detective Chief Superintendent Reginald Lester, head of Norfolk CID, takes the helm of the April Fabb investigation, his seasoned instincts pointing to a chilling abduction. Detectives swarm Back Lane, where the 13-year-old's blue and white bicycle was found abandoned, hurled over a 6-foot embankment into a field. Detective Sergeant Dick Brass meticulously examines the bike, noting its pristine condition, well-maintained, almost new, with only a slightly bent bell hinting at its violent toss. A single serviceable fingerprint on the handlebars, ruled out as April's after comparison with items from her home, matches David Empson, the motorist who retrieved it, his footprints the only ones in the field. No tire tracks or collision debris suggest a traffic accident, confirming the bike was thrown by someone physically strong, uninterested in the saddlebag's contents, 10 players' weight cigarettes, 5 pence halfpenny, and a handkerchief. A nearby bloody handkerchief embroidered with an A sparks brief hope, but is soon dismissed, linked to a woman tending to her son's grazed knee. With 1969's forensic limits yielding no fingerprints or traces, police pivot to vehicle leads trickling in. a stationary light brown Austin A55 or A60 van near the scene, a speeding van of unknown make, a red Mini with reflective plates, and a grey van, all untraced. A scruffy black Maurice van, seen driving erratically through Metten between 2:06 and 2:15 p.m. on April 8th, draws scrutiny after a builder nearly collides with it and a storekeeper reports its driver swapping sixpences, possibly stolen from phone boxes, for notes. The van's part owner, a petty criminal with burglary convictions, admits to minor theft in the area but vehemently denies abducting April, refusing to name his accomplice. Forensic checks find no link. Another van, carrying two men selling carpets door to door in the rural village, raises suspicions but is cleared after questioning and examination. Witnesses also reported a curious sight that still lingers in the shadows of the case. Not far from where April vanished, a light brown Ford Consul, or possibly a Vauxhall Cresta, was spotted pulled up at the roadside. Inside, a man lay stretched across the front bench seat, his legs protruding awkwardly from the open door. The image was troubling, a lone figure in an idling car, positioned in a way that would suggest either distress, concealment, or something altogether more sinister. Detectives urgently appealed for the man to come forward, but he never did. Despite the peculiarity of this sighting and its proximity in time and place to April's disappearance, the lead evaporated, leaving behind only another fragment in a mystery already thick with unanswered questions. By April 9th, Norfolk Constabulary launches an unprecedented search for 13-year-old April Fabb, missing since her bicycle was found abandoned on Back Lane the previous day. The operation, Norfolk's largest ever, mobilizes 40 officers, every county police dog, locals from Aylstrom Round Table, RAF helicopters, lorries, and an amateur radio club coordinating efforts. Over 120 people join the desperate hunt, scouring hedgerows and fields, while house-to-house inquiries and canvassing of Metten and Rowton residents begin, reaching even April's distant relatives. Her description, shy, wine skirt, green jumper, circulates wildly, plastered all across the media. Police soon learned that sometime between 1:30 p.m. and 2:30 p.m., two schoolboys, whose names remain undisclosed in public records, were engaged in a holiday pastime near the intersection of Cromer Road and Back Lane, close to where 13-year-old April Fabb vanished in Metten, Norfolk. The boys meticulously recorded 406 registration vehicle numbers as part of a game to track passing traffic in this quiet, rural area where vehicles were sparse. Their log, initially seen as a vital lead by Norfolk Constabulary due to its potential to identify vehicles present during the critical 7-minute window of April's disappearance, was later compromised. Investigations revealed that the boys, eager to inflate their tally, had fabricated some registration numbers, possibly inspired by passing glances or youthful embellishment. This revelation muddied the reliability of their data, frustrating detectives who later sifted through the list to identify the suspicious vehicles reported. The boys' incomplete and partially falsified record remains a tantalizing yet flawed piece of the enduring mystery surrounding April's unsolved case. Tantalizing leads begin to emerge. A train driver claims April boarded the 3:45 p.m. Cromer to Norwich train on April 8th. Another spots a girl matching her description at North Walsham's Norwich platform at 6:55 p.m. A London bus driver insists April approached him at Victoria bus station asking for a shilling, an act starkly unlike the timid country girl. These sightings, out of character for April, who was set on visiting her sister in Rowton, prompt exhaustive inquiries, with police questioning hundreds of passengers and issuing television appeals. Yet no new leads emerged. Whispers among locals pointed police toward the Bacton Gas Terminal, where construction had begun in 1968, as a potential site where the 13-year-old's body might have been concealed amidst the sprawling pipelines. But despite extensive searches of the site, no trace of April was found, leaving the theory as a haunting speculation. A man on holiday in the area emerged as a person of interest. This individual, whose identity remains undisclosed in public records, reportedly began conducting his own searches near the site of April's disappearance, raising suspicions. He was then questioned by Norfolk Constabulary, his actions scrutinized, but no evidence linked him to the case. The mystery of April's vanishing within that critical 7-minute window, coupled with the holidaymaker's unusual behavior, fueled speculation, yet ultimately the police ruled him out. Each lead coming in collapses under scrutiny, ruled out as false hopes born of human error. The Search, one of the UK's largest, amasses 1,971 statements and 419 house interviews. Yet the rolling fields of Metten yield no trace of April, leaving her family and community ensnared in a deepening, anguished mystery. By May 1969, weeks have passed with no breakthroughs. The local Eastern Daily Press laments, still no news of missing schoolgirl. Local speculation in shops and pubs grows, some suggesting April ran away, but police dismiss this. Her bicycle's abandonment and family statement point to abduction. The untraced vehicles remain a focus, but leads dry up. By August 1969, with media attention fading, Detective Chief Superintendent Lester launches a renewed search, re-examining back lane, witness statements and suspects. At a press conference, he pleads, no one appears to have seen the girl talking to anyone. No one appears to have seen her getting into a car, but someone, somewhere, must know something. The appeal yields no new clues, and the trail grows colder. On September 2, 1969, a chilling shadow falls over North Norfolk as 11-year-old Stephen Ewing vanishes without a trace while playing outside his home in Fakenham, a quiet market town 24 miles west of Metten, where 13-year-old April Fabb disappeared 5 months earlier. Like April, Stephen's sudden disappearance in a rural setting leaves no body, no belongings or witnesses, sending a jolt of fear through the region's close-knit communities. The eerie similarities, rapid abductions of children in the bright Norfolk daylight with no trace left behind, ignite widespread panic, fueling whispers of a serial predator stalking the country's winding lanes. The Eastern Daily Press and local media amplify the alarm, their headlines stoking terror as parents clamp down on children's freedoms, keeping them indoors to shield them from an unseen threat. Norfolk Constabulary, still grappling with April's unsolved mystery, launches another massive search in Fakenham, mobilizing officers, locals, and media appeals in a desperate bid to find Stephen. Yet, despite exhaustive efforts, no concrete links to April's case are confirmed, leaving both disappearances shrouded in uncertainty. As the early 1970s unfold, a dark cloud lingers over East Anglia, where new tragedies deepen the region's unease in the wake of April Fabb's 1969 disappearance. In 1974, the brutal murder of an unidentified woman in Cockley Clay, Norfolk, and the mysterious disappearance of Pamela Exall in Snettisham send ripples of fear through the rural community, stoking whispers of a shadowy offender preying on the vulnerable. With no new physical evidence, neither April's body, clothing, nor additional witnesses, the case slips into a quieter phase, its file preserved in Norfolk Constabulary's archives, poised for credible tips that never materialize. No major searches or public appeals mark this period, as the limitations of the 1960s and 1970s investigative technology, no DNA analysis, no CCTV footage, and limited vehicle tracking cast a long shadow over the investigation, leaving April's family and the community in a haunting limbo. August 19, 1978. In the tranquil village of Aylesbury, Devon, a haunting echo of tragedy strikes as 13-year-old Genette Tate vanishes while delivering newspapers on her bicycle. Her bike, left abandoned in a quiet lane, mirrors the chilling scene of April Fabb's disappearance 9 years earlier in Bacton, Norfolk. The parallels: both girls 13, snatched in broad daylight from rural roads, their bicycles discarded like silent witnesses, sends a shiver through Norfolk constabulary, who immediately recognize the strong similarities. On the 22nd of August, Norfolk police share April's case with Devon and Cornwall police, meticulously comparing witness statements, vehicle descriptions, and suspect profiles in a desperate bid to uncover links. The similarities breathe new life into April's case, prompting detectives to revisit her 1969 file, scouring for clues that might connect the two mysteries. The haunting parallels between the two disappearances spark renewed public and media scrutiny, with newspapers like The Guardian amplifying the story. In 1983, retired detective Maurice Morson, former head of Norfolk CID, takes up April's case, driven by a personal mission. His book, The Lost Years, details the 1969 investigation's frustrations, untraced vehicles, no forensics, and funds a memorial plaque at St. Andrew's Church, Bacton, keeping April's memory alive in the community's heart. In 1994, the shadow of serial killer Robert Black, later identified as a suspect in the 1978 disappearance of Genette Tate, looms large as he is convicted for the brutal murders of 3 girls and a kidnapping, his heinous crime sending shockwaves through Britain. Norfolk constabulary seizes the opportunity to question Black, his predatory methods chillingly resonant with April Fabb's 1969 vanishing. Detectives probe relentlessly, hoping to tie Black to Bacton in 1969, when he was 22 and living in London. But no evidence emerges. No documented delivery routes place him in Norfolk's quiet lanes. And despite their exhaustive interviews, Black offers no confession, and no forensic links, fingerprints, fibers, or traces connect him to April's case. Former officer Chris Clark's claim that Black drove a pale green Ford Zephyr in the area, and an informant's unverified statement alleging Black named April among 8 or 9 of his victims, spark brief hope but crumble under scrutiny, lacking any corroboration. The investigation stalls, leaving April's fate unresolved. In 1997, nearly 3 decades after April Fabb's disappearance, Norfolk Constabulary reignites its search for answers, deploying cutting-edge thermal imaging cameras across the fields and woodlands of Bacton and Roughton where the 13-year-old vanished. Targeting areas near Back Lane and Cromer Road, haunted by the memory of April's abandoned blue and white bicycle, the operation draws on 1969 witness reports and persistent local tips whispering on hidden truths buried in Norfolk's quiet countryside. The thermal imaging, capable of detecting heat signatures or ground anomalies that might reveal remains or belongings, sweeps through dense thickets and open fields under the watchful eyes of detectives, determined to uncover clues of April's fate. Yet despite the technological leap and the police's unwavering commitment, the search yields no new leads, no bones, no clothing, no trace of the shy teenager. In 1998, Ernest Fabb, April's father, dies aged 77 without ever knowing what befell his youngest daughter on that fateful day. Ernest had poured his heart into supporting Norfolk Constabulary's efforts, lending his voice to media appeals to keep April's disappearance in the public eye, hoping for a breakthrough that never came. His passing leaves Olive, his wife, and their daughters Diane and Pamela to bear the family's enduring sorrow, a wound deepened by the absence of answers. April's bedroom, preserved untouched at their modest home, stands as a poignant shrine, her Amen Corner posters, needlework, and personal treasures frozen in time, a silent testament to a family's unbroken hope and the profound, lingering impact of a 13-year-old's vanishing from the quiet lanes of Norfolk. In 2005, Detective Chief Inspector Andy Guy, Norfolk Constabulary's cold case manager, launches an exhaustive review of one of the force's most perplexing cases. Guy's team meticulously re-examines the 1,971 witness statements, the 419 house-to-house inquiries, and elusive vehicle leads, like the untraced light brown Austin A55 or A60 and the red Mini with reflective plates, hoping modern forensic technology and national crime databases might unlock overlooked clues or pinpoint new suspects. The review probes potential links to known predators, including serial killer Robert Black, whose methods chillingly echoed April's abduction, though no evidence ties him to Norfolk in 1969. Despite the comprehensive effort, no significant breakthroughs emerge, underscoring the formidable challenge of unraveling a 36-year-old mystery, leaving the Fabb family and Metton's community in a lingering fog. In 2010, a flicker of hope emerges as Norfolk Constabulary investigates a landowner's chilling tip: black polythene sheeting spotted at the end of a well near Metton around the time of April's 1969 disappearance. The report, hinting at concealed evidence tied to the 13-year-old's fate, prompts a meticulous excavation operation near the quiet lanes where her bicycle was found abandoned. Using modern equipment, police probed the well's depth, scouring for remains, clothing, or any trace of April that might finally break the 41-year-old mystery. Yet despite the painstaking effort, the excavation uncovers nothing, no answers, another dead end. In 2011, police receive a tip of a man seen digging a grave-like hole near Metton during the Easter weekend of 1969, eerily coinciding with April's disappearance. The account prompts detectives to scour the rural landscape where April's blue and white bicycle was found abandoned on Back Lane. Police launch inquiries, combing fields and hedgerows for any trace of evidence, yet no physical evidence emerges, and no new suspects are identified. In 2013, Olive Fabb, April's mother, passes away aged 89, her heart heavy with the unresolved grief of never knowing what happened to her youngest daughter. Following the death of her husband, Ernest, in 1998, Olive tirelessly advocated for her daughter's case, lending her voice to police appeals in the hopes of a breakthrough that never came. Her passing marks another devastating loss for the Fabb family, leaving sisters Diane and Pamela to carry the weight of their sister's absence. In 2015, retired Norfolk police officer Chris Clark, a dedicated cold case investigator, intensified speculation about Robert Black's involvement in April Fabb's 1969 disappearance, pointing to photographs from the Scottish Records Office taken 7 months prior that might spark recognition among witnesses. Clark claims Black, then living in London, drove a pale green Ford Consul Zephyr in Norfolk without a license, possibly traveling via the A11, and cited Black's history of driving vans since 1964 to challenge police assertions of his immobility in 1969. Adding to the intrigue, an informant named John, who drank with Black in Stoke Newington, alleged Black mentioned April Fabb's name alongside other missing children and unsolved murders, fueling suspicions that the notorious serial killer's crimes may extend far beyond those for which he was convicted. But the death of the notorious Scottish serial killer on January 12, 2016, extinguishes a flicker of hope for answers in the April case. In March 2016, Norfolk Police's cold case manager, Detective Chief Inspector Andy Guy, decisively ruled out serial killer Robert Black as a suspect in April Fabb's disappearance, stating there was no evidence to place Black in Norfolk at the time. This firm rejection, based on extensive case reviews, challenged persistent theories from retired officer Chris Clark and others, deepening the mystery surrounding April's fate. It has been more than half a century since April Fabb set out on her bicycle and never came home. For her family, the questions have never faded, and the silence has never lifted. Behind the headlines and the theories was a bright, innocent 13-year-old girl whose life was stolen before it had the chance to truly begin. Today, we remember April not just as a mystery, but as a daughter, a sister, and a young life full of promise. Until answers are found, her story remains a reminder of the fragility of innocence and the enduring ache of those left behind. Thank you for watching and listening to April's story. Please feel free to add your own thoughts, comments, and theories down below, and we'll see you next time.